first arrived then, Kim and I had taken a year off. We had been doing ministry for about 16 years or so, and we decided, you know what? We feel like God is calling us into a place of rest and to hear from Him. And we thought that, we didn't know it was going to be an entire year. We just thought it was going to be about 90 days. So it ended up being what we thought would be about 90 days or 4 months. It stretched out to an entire year until God called us here. But so when He called us here, we were very revived. We were bright-eyed and ready to take on the new adventure that God had in place for us, which was here at this location. And it was evident. It was evident to me and Kim. It was evident to the committee that brought us here, the search committee that brought us here, that God was working in bringing us together. And so we were all excited. The people who brought us here, we were excited because we just knew, we felt it, that God was going to do something in us, in our church, and around us and throughout our community. And as with anything that's worth going after, it wasn't long until we stepped onto Woodbridge soil that things were not going to be as simple as we had either hoped or actually anticipated. And though we believed that God was leading us here, and that He had phenomenal things in store for us and for our church and for our community, it was apparent that we were not going to maintain that same momentum and excitement that we had when we first arrived. As with any church, it was apparent that we were not going to be the exception, that churches, in order to reach their destination, we were going to experience some heartaches. We were going to experience some challenges, and we definitely did. And we were going to experience even casualties, and we certainly did that as well. So confession number 37 of this pastor is this. It wasn't long after we arrived, I began doubting our decision. Did we make the right one? Was it God that led us here? Or were we just anxious to get plugged into ministry again? Did we make the right decision? If we did, then why all the challenges? If God was in it, if God was near, why did it have to be so hard? Those are just honest questions. Those are questions we ask all the time. Why does it have to be so hard? So it's not only true for ministry, but it's true in every facet of life. And so today's message focuses on dealing with detours. Dealing with detours when things don't go as planned or expected. We just knew that people were going to fall right in line. Things were just going to get turned on for Jesus and things were just going to explode. But God had other plans. He set for us a detour. So as we draw our attention to the journey here in Exodus that we've been on now for the past several weeks, I want to catch you up to speed as to where we will be today. Last time we met, I think we were around Exodus chapter 6 and 7, and where Moses goes and he approaches Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, you and Aaron, get out of here. You're just being lazy. And in fact, I'm going to increase the hardship on your people. I'm going to order your people to make brick with no straw. They have to go and harvest their own straw. You remember that? And Moses is like, God, I did what I thought was right, and now you seem to be punishing me. We remember dealing with that. That was 2 weeks ago. Well, since that time, God began to do these plagues. We all know about the plagues of Egypt, right? And again, this is one of those moments where my mind goes back to Charlton Heston, the Ten Commandments movie, and I start thinking about the setting and all of the plagues that went through. But in each of those plagues, we're not going to get into it today, but in each of those plagues, they're significant in that with each plague, God is basically calling out the gods of the Egyptians. With the plague of darkness, he's calling out the god of their chief god, which was the god Ra, the sun god. And ultimately, through these 10 plagues, God continues to demonstrate his power over Pharaoh, demonstrate his power and authority even over the gods, the dead gods of the Egyptians. And then with the final plague that actually was the straw that broke the camel's back, was the plague of the death of the firstborn. And by that time, Pharaoh and all of his counselors and all the people of Egypt were like, Pharaoh, get these people out of here. They're toxic. They're bringing death. I mean, death to the firstborn, to cattle, to livestock. All of this. It's time that they leave. Enough is enough. And so finally, Pharaoh relinquishes control over the people of Israel. And he says, go. Get out of here. I don't want to see you anymore. Just go. And so we find in Exodus chapter 12, again, I'm just catching you up to speed here. We find in Exodus chapter 12, notice the momentum that the Israelites had when they were getting ready to leave Egypt. The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. I mean, who wouldn't, right? Great momentum that the people of Israel had. You know that when they were gathering their things together and everything was just falling in place all nice and perfectly, they just knew they had to be thinking, man, we're finally free. God is giving us victory over our enemies, over the Egyptians. Guys, we're going to reach our land in no time. In no time. We all know it's pretty much just a straight shot from Egypt up the Mediterranean Sea coastline and right into the land that he has promised us. I'll have my own farm. I can eat all the dates and olives and figs I want. I mean, that's exactly what we think about, right? When we go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, I want to make sure they have all the figs and dates and olives to eat. But that's what they were thinking. What could possibly stand in our way? Well, except this. This is where we pick it up. Exodus 13, verse 17. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. How many of us can testify about times that have happened in our lives that made absolutely no sense? Right? Yes, we all can. Let's just be honest here. We all can. And don't you know that when God was leading the people of Israel and Moses took a right instead of a left, that the people were probably thinking, what in the world? It's this way to go north, and now we're heading south. What a detour. So, pick it up again, verse 18. So God led them in a roundabout way. Or let me back up, excuse me. The latter part of verse 17, God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return back to Egypt. That's the purpose or the point of the detour. Part of it. Verse 18, so God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. Let's just go ahead and read the rest of these things here. Let's skip on down to chapter 14, verses 10 through 12. As Pharaoh, so the people have left, they're down near the Red Sea. And as Pharaoh approached the people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out to the Lord and they said to Moses, why did you bring us out of here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you this would happen while we were